Hey everyone, happy Friday, creator mom. Just sneezing a bunch. I wanted to read from Pamela Rakia's book, Life Through the Lens of Unschooling, because she hits this part where she starts talking about teens. And, anyways, so she says, conventionally, relationships with teens, or even tweens, I'll say, for that matter, are painted as either or. Either you focus on maintaining authority, which is tough love, or you avoid challenges altogether and let them run wild. I really resonated with that statement because, I know personally in challenging moments, I have kind of felt like, all right, I know I don't want to be like all authority, like, maintain authority and control, and I know that I don't just want to be like, okay, do whatever you want, right? Well, obviously, even with tweens, that's not good. I could see how that could be more tempting if you have a teen, someone who's 16, 17, like, all right, whatever, go, because they're kind of like big enough to go, and, but they're both like polar opposite decisions that kind of, I don't know, represent exasperation, like, the kind of like, I've come to my wit's end with you, and now I am going to take authority here and show you tough love, or I've come to my wit's end with you and I'm done with you. I'm gonna let you do whatever the heck you want to do, and don't tell me about it. Don't, if you fuck up or you have consequences to your dumb actions, I don't care, basically, I want to rewind and read like a few sentences before. She says that, it reminded me of how people say that their kid or their teen will listen to anybody but them, will never take their advice, Well, to me, that seems normal. My old pastor back in New Jersey, Love of Jesus Family Church, used to say, familiarity breeds disrespect. When you're around somebody, you're always around your mom, maybe you don't want to listen to her, just that familiarity. And that if somebody else says something, that they'll listen. I think that, and you know what? In my opinion, it's like, if I gave my kids a piece of advice and they didn't take it, and then Joe Schmo across the street said the same thing to them, I don't think I would really care, because it's like, well, cool, at least someone told them, because God has plenty of parents around. Like, essentially what I'm saying is, I'm my children's parents, I'm responsible for them, but other adults can influence my kids for the positive, and that's a good thing, or whatever. So, but then, it's like, well, what if your child ends up taking negative advice from someone? Anyways, she says, I am suggesting that we as parents try to avoid projecting our personal experiences too deeply onto our teens. I don't mean to imply that we keep our thoughts to ourselves and leave our teens to figure out the world on their own. Far from it. Parents have experience and wisdom to share that can be very helpful. Yet, to truly be helpful, it is important that our teens receive it in the no strings attached spirit that we intend, or else our motivation is suspect and the information understandably discounted. So the atmosphere of communication is important in the relationship. Yeah, so basically how I interpret that is like, if you're desperate for your kid to take your advice and you're like, if you don't do, this is the way it is, and if you don't do this, you have to offer it as if they're like, they're another person, another adult, or, just another being. No strings attached. Anyway, she says, unschooling families have found the beauty of living inside the spectrum of those extremes of authority and just letting go and letting your kids do whatever the hell they want to do. We continue to, because kids are growing, they're growing. The whole thing with teenagers is they're growing in their own autonomy. So, and even tweens. We continue to cultivate the strong and connected relationships we have built with our children over the years. It's a relationship paradigm that serves us well, no matter our children's age. Let's look at some of the ways unschooling parents view relationships differently and what they can look like in the teen years. Notice how they all boil down to how we relate to them as people and not possessions. She says we drop the expectations. Unschoolers don't share their experience or perspective with the expectation that their teens will reach the exact same conclusions. That's hard, isn't it? We know what we know. To us and for us, our experiences are fact. For me, it's a kind of philosophical detachment, not a detachment as in a disengagement, but an appreciation of their individuality. Almost paradoxically, when I'm not living my life through them, I feel even closer to them because it's not about me, it's their life to live. So I can detach from the outcome and drop my expectations. They are not younger versions of me, but unique beings in their own right. So through the experiences I share, though the experiences I share may be helpful, useful pieces to the puzzle of their life, I don't expect my stories to mean the same thing to them. We are each building different puzzles. And that's something that you don't see when people are raised by a narcissistic parent, Your life is their life, You're not seen as a separate person. Building your own puzzle, they need to be like the center of your puzzle, it's very different. Yeah, she just says we realize that the circumstances of their lives are different than ours. Speaking of different puzzles, take a moment to realize how different their childhood has been from our own. The pace of change has been accelerating at a breakneck speed over our lifetimes. This is a new thing. Comparatively, the pace of change from one generation to the next, even just a few decades ago, was almost negligible. What an interesting time in human history to be living. But it also means that the passing down of generation experience is more about bigger picture human issues like empathy and morality than day-to-day advice like do this and get that outcome. The nuts and bolts of our stories are often no longer applicable because the world is changing so rapidly. For example, even mainstream society is starting to question the typical counsel of go to college, get a good job at a big company. That was the conventional definition of success in the industrial age and even deeply into the information age. But we are swiftly moving beyond that now. That advice so adamantly passed on to us by our parents has become hopelessly outdated as our teens move into adulthood. And she says, we don't presume we know better than they do. We don't presume we know better than how they experience their lives. This can be a hard one too. We have more life experience. We remember a time when we were young children and totally dependent, when they were young children and dependent on us. And we came through for them. Here they are, Yet we can also acknowledge that we don't always know what they are thinking and feeling, how they are experiencing the world and interpreting the day-to-day moments of their lives. Sure, maybe we really enjoyed camping at the lake as a family over the last long weekends, but that doesn't mean that they did, and they are not wrong to have disliked it. Different personalities and outlooks are just that. They are different, not wrong. As I said, none of this is intended to suggest disengagement, that we don't share our experiences or that we leave them alone to figure it out on their own. What I hope people get out of this discussion is inspiration to listen to teens. They have intelligent information and insights about their own lives to share. Don't discount what they say just because it's different from your thoughts and perspective. Again, it's different, not wrong. Instead, if you try to connect with what they are saying, with what you already know, you might just create a bigger picture of the world for yourself. You're learning too, which leads to this. We don't always assume that as parents that we're always right. So she kind of ends with saying that teens are people too. Just because they are our children, they are not our possessions. They are people. And just because they are our progeny doesn't mean we intimately understand them. We get to know them and be open so that they get to know us. Building lasting relationships. See, and I want to point out that if you had a narcissistic parent, this wasn't like this. They claim and feel that they know you better than you know yourself. So that's really different, you know, than saying, no, you know yourself better than I know you. I, as your parent, am getting to know who you are. You know, I'm getting acquainted with who you are. I'm not presuming that I know you. As with a narc parent, they know you and they know how bad you are, you know. So yeah, she just talks about how she learned things from her kids and it's made her a better person, learning from each other. You know what I like that she generally goes over, you know, kind of like a general attitude to have towards your teenagers. Like what is the ideal general attitude to have towards your growing up child? But what I don't like is, like, it's just, people, I think we can find ourselves in specific challenging situations with our kids and we're just like, oh my God, I don't know the answer. I don't know what to do in this situation. It is so hard. How do I approach this from an unschooling mindset, you know? That's the challenge here. And I feel like they don't give you clear rules for that, but that's the whole thing about understanding the perspective and, I don't know, figuring it out, I guess, and having support. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, my teen wants to stay out all night and go to her boyfriend's house or something like that. I don't know, like, what should I do? I think people want answers. We want answers about what we should do about challenging situations. Anyways, that's all I wanted to share. Bye.